There are a lot of dialects in China, and they aren't all mutually intelligible, or even those that are mutually intelligible, there's a level of intelligibilityness. What's the word? Hey everybody, Deathblade here, also known as Jeremy. I am not doing this as a Chinese fantasy novel FAQ video because the topic doesn't super relate to Chinese fantasy novels. In fact, I was thinking about it and I cannot remember if this has ever even come up in anything I've translated. I think it might have. I have a vague recollection of doing a footnote about this at one point in the past. But after all the years of translating and millions of Chinese characters, everything kind of runs together at a certain point, and I'm not sure if this actually has appeared in the novels that I translate. So I'm going to be talking about Chinese hand signs. No, I'm not talking about the magical variety, you know, the Naruto, like, kind of things. Those appear all the time in the novels. I have translated those in the past as incantation gestures. Another word I believe is mudra, is a dictionary definition you'll find as it relates to, I think, Buddhism. They'll also come across as just hand signs. I think there's other versions. I have an example here. As you can see, they're a real life thing from Taoism and from Chinese culture. I am not an expert on these things, and again, I am not going to be doing this video on this anyway. I just wanted to point out that these exist, and that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm going to be talking about, I'll switch over here, are the Chinese hand signs for counting. When you're talking about the numbers 1 through 10, there are special hand signs for them. I'm going to jump back out to a wider view here. And by the way, I'm in a very, very messy office environment here. This is where I write. This is where I do everything. It's kind of, doesn't look very good, so I'm keeping a little bit tight here. In any case, the hand signs for counting numbers in Chinese from 1 to 10 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the same, I think, probably in most languages and cultures. But then after 5, you have 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you have 10. Now, depending on where you get your information, you might see some people saying that it's like this for 10 or like this. I think these things change from place to place in China. Whether you're talking about the dialects or the sort of subcultures of Chinese culture, they change in different parts of China. Where I was from, which is North China, Hebei province, which surrounds Beijing, North China, the Central Plains or whatever. This was what people did. They did this for 10. I saw that. I've never seen anybody do this. I have traveled throughout China to something like, I don't know, 20 or so cities. I can't remember exactly how many places I've been to in China. And I actually never saw anybody doing this or any of the other things for 10. But again, I guess I wasn't really paying super close attention. So I suppose anything is possible. But where I was from, this was 10. And these are very ubiquitous. You see them all the time, everywhere you go, when you are negotiating with people, buying things at the store. Whenever you're going to be using the numbers 1 to 10, people almost always throw these things out there. You know, how many dumplings do you want? I'll have 8. How much do you want for these things? 6 renminbi. These are very useful, especially because, well, for two reasons. Number one is there are a lot of dialects in China, and they aren't all mutually intelligible, or even those that are mutually intelligible, there's a level of intelligibilityness. What's the word? You know, you might be able to understand some of what the other person is saying, but not all, depending on how strong their accent or dialect is. And that's not to mention that there are just numbers that can be confused with each other. For example, 1 and 7 are E and T, respectively. If you're in a loud, crowded marketplace, people everywhere, dogs barking, music playing, it might be easy to mishear what somebody's saying, so being able to accompany your numbers with hand signs is very useful. Same goes for the numbers 4 and 10. So 4 and 10 are si and shi, respectively, in standard Mandarin. The thing is that throughout China, a lot of places, especially in the south, but not just the south, they kind of drop that SH sound and they just use the S sound. So for many people in China, 4 is going to be si and 10 is going to be si. Now the tones are totally different, in fact almost opposite, the fourth and the second tone respectively. But again, if you're in a crowded market, if you're at the supermarket, maybe there's kids running around, and it's easy to, maybe if one person is not speaking clearly, it's easy to mix those up. And I've experienced that in China myself, when native Chinese speakers mishear and they think 4 is 10 or 10 is 4. It could also be that if you're a foreigner and you're not speaking correctly, and you don't have a very good standard Mandarin accent, then you might say it incorrectly. You might want to say 10, but you accidentally say 4. So again, it's useful to have those hand signs. Really quickly, I'm going to jump back over here to point out that you can find all kinds of videos and articles and whatnot online. I mean, you can even buy posters and whatnot that show all of these different hand signs. And if you are somebody who is learning Chinese, considering moving to China, working with Chinese colleagues in a setting in which Chinese is being spoken, or if you're traveling to China, it would definitely be worth it to learn these. What I would recommend though is that, especially if you're going to be traveling or living there, that you don't rely on the internet to learn them. You rely on a person that is from the location where you're going to be using these hand signs, because as I mentioned, they could change depending on whatever location you are at. The reason why I thought of this topic is that just a couple of days ago, it was, I believe 2 days ago, I wanted to record this video on that day so that I could be like, oh, just a few minutes ago, but I was having mic problems. In any case, I was at the taco shop. If you're not super familiar with my channel, I did live in China for about 8 years. I'm not living in China anymore. I'm back in my hometown of San Diego, where taco shops are everywhere. I mean, seriously, everywhere. I live in the suburbs, not even in the city center. And I think that within walking distance of my house, let's put it at a mile, there's probably something like 8 or 10 taco shops. If you extended it to 2 miles, there's probably dozens just from where I live. For those of you who speak Spanish, I think taqueria is probably going to be a word that is used a lot in certain places. In San Diego, for whatever reason, the vast majority are just called taco shops. Occasionally you'll have an outlier that calls it a taqueria, but they're just taco shops. Anyway, sorry, I digress. I was at the taco shop getting a burrito for lunch. What kind of burrito, you ask? I was actually getting that specific shop's specialty burrito. It's named after the shop, and it has carne asada, shrimp. It has French fries. It has, I'm pretty sure, a chili relleno inside. It has a special sauce that I think is enchilada sauce mixed with something else. I don't know. It's just really dang good. So I was getting a burrito and taco and whatnot, and the one behind the counter was asking me how many little salsa containers I want, and I just reflexively said 6, and I kind of flashed the 6 hand sign from China. Now, if you're listening and not watching, the 6 sign looks kind of like the hang loose that a surfer might flash, or I think this is used in Hawaii as well. And after I left the taco shop, it kind of occurred to me, I just went like this when she asked how many salsa containers I wanted, and I just wondered what was going through her mind. And the thing is that living in China for as long as I did work as hard as I could to integrate myself, to assimilate as much as possible, and you very quickly learn these hand signs and start using them all the time. I'm not going to get into too much more detail about the hand signs themselves because, as I mentioned, you can find plenty of information on the internet. As you can see from my screenshot here, I just typed in Chinese hand signs for numbers and you can get all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, go ahead and do your own research because it's an interesting topic and it's a fun thing to do. I think it's really great to have hand signs for the numbers 6 through 10 instead of, I think most Americans, at least from my perception where I grew up, if you wanted to say 8, you would just go like this or maybe like this or something like that. But it's nice to be able to say 8 and just have one hand sign for that number itself. So that's all I have for this video. If you like this kind of content, please do like and subscribe and share and all that different stuff. I am going to be back in the business of making videos as much as I can, hopefully 1 a week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep that schedule. I'll do my best. What kind of questions do you have about Chinese culture, about Chinese novels? I will do my best to answer those, maybe in the comments, or if it's worth it, I might do a video on something. Please do leave a comment to let me know what you would like to know, and of course your general thoughts about this topic. That's it for this video. I will see you next time. Godzilla.